Okay, here we have another tricky question where we kind of have to use our imagination and work backwards a little bit. So let's find out what is being asked. The ratio of the number of men to the number of women at a buffet was 7 to 5. Another 18 men and women joined, so we're not sure how many of those were men, how many of them are women, but we knew that 18 people showed up. They joined the buffet, and then the ratio of the number of men to the number of women became 4 to 3. If there were 54 women at the buffet at the end, how many men joined the buffet? So we're going to start off by looking at the second part of the question first, because we're specifically told that 54 women were there. So we have an exact number for the number of women that were there at the end. So I'm just going to call this W2 and M2 to signify that this is how many people there were after 18 people showed up, so at the very end of the buffet. And we're going to think about the beginning a little bit later once we've made some calculations. So if we know that there are 3 units representing women, so 3 units representing, and we are told 54 women. How many women, or rather people, are represented by 1 unit? Let's divide both sides by 3. So 1 unit contains 18 women. But we can also just say people, because essentially the units just represent people, and we're just told that 3 represent women, there are 4 of men. So 18 people in 1 unit. That means we can also find out how many men there were at the beginning. 4 units of men, each unit containing 18 people. That comes to 72 men. And let's just also write down how many women we had at the beginning, even though that's given to us. 54 women. And let's also find out how many people there were altogether. So 72 plus 54 is equal to 126 people altogether. Okay, so what else do we know? We know that at some point 18 people showed up. 18 people showed up, so before they showed up we had 126 minus 18 people, which is equal to 108 people. So let's also represent this using our bar graphs. Let's just imagine, let's take all these units that we have and think of them in terms of people and not men and women. So altogether we figured out that we have 7 units of people, and there were 126 before or at the very end, and before 18 people showed up, and that happens to be how much one of these units is worth, we only had 108, so 6 units. So now the next thing that we have to do is figure out how many we had at the beginning. Now we know that the ratio initially of men to women was 7 to 5. So 7 units to 5 units altogether would make 12 units. Right now we have 6 units. So how do we get from 6 units to 12 units? Well, we can take the units that we currently have and split each of them in half. Now we're left with 12 smaller units. So, if we knew before that one of the larger units, I'm going to call that unit 2 to signify that they were the later units. One of those units was worth 18 people. Half of one of those units, which I'm going to call unit 1, is worth 9 people. And now how do we turn these smaller units into a 7-to-5 ratio of men to women? Well, all we have to do is move one of these 12 units over, and now there are 7 small units representing men and 5 small units representing women. So let's find out how many people there are. 7 units representing men, and each unit is worth 9 people. So that is 63 men, and 5 units, each of those units containing 9 people, makes 45 women. And what did the question ask at the beginning? They want to know how many men joined in the buffet. So when those 18 people showed up, how many of them were men? Well, let's see. Originally, we had 72 men, and now we have 63 men. 72 minus 63 is 9 men. That's how many men showed up when those 18 people showed up.